a lion cub, a desperate ranger, and a python ready to strike. Just when all hope seems lost, a forgotten silverback gorilla charges from the grass. And what happens next will leave you speechless. Do you believe animals remember kindness after decades? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more wild rescues that defy the odds. The sun burned high above the African grasslands, casting a golden hue over the rippling sea of green. Acacia trees, scattered like forgotten sentinels, stood watch as cicadas buzzed in the dry air. Driving slowly through this vast canvas was Ranger Elijah Mbeki, 45, his weather-worn hat tilted low against the glare. Elijah had spent more than 2 decades guarding this sanctuary. Stoic, patient, and fiercely protective of the land, he had become something of a legend. The man who, 20 years ago, saved a silverback gorilla from a poacher's snare, an act few forgot, though the gorilla was never seen again. Today was supposed to be a routine patrol, until he saw it, a flash of pale movement near an old, crumbled termite mound. Elijah brought the jeep to a halt, eyes narrowing. There, bathed in the mid-morning light, stood a lion cub, not white, but a pale yellow, almost golden, its coat gleaming under the sun. Alone, no lioness in sight, no siblings, just a solitary yellow lion cub standing still in the grass, watching him. Elijah's chest tightened with unease. Lionesses were fiercely protective. For a lion cub to be alone like this, something had gone terribly wrong. He stepped out quietly, boots crunching dry earth. His camera swung gently against his chest, his tranquilizer gun secured at his hip. The lion cub didn't flinch. It didn't hide. It didn't even blink. It was as if it had been waiting. Crouching, Elijah whispered, "What happened to you, little one?" The grass around the termite mound swayed. Something about this scene felt off. He took a careful step forward. The lion cub tilted its head, and for the first time, Elijah noticed the faint smear of dried blood near its paw. Something terrible had happened here. Elijah scanned the ground like a seasoned detective. Years of tracking had sharpened his instincts. Not far from the termite mound, the grass was disturbed, smeared with dried blood and shredded clumps of fur. Fresh, he found the unmistakable drag marks of a lioness, deep, erratic, with paw prints fading into a wide trench of flattened grass. Nearby, his breath caught. A massive, sinuous track, too wide to be a cat, too smooth for a hoofed animal. A python, a long one. The lion cub let out a soft, hoarse mewl. Elijah turned and gently scooped it into his arms. It was light, too light, and its eyes had the tired, cloudy look of recent trauma. He wrapped it gently in his canvas sling, close to his chest, shielding it from the harsh sunlight. Then, a rustle. The acacia branches to his right shook slightly, though there was no wind. Elijah froze, instinct sharp. Something was watching. He remembered another time, another rustle in the bushes, 2 decades ago. A silverback gorilla, no more than 5 years old, caught in a wire snare, bleeding. Elijah had freed the young male, who simply stared at him afterward. Not with animal panic. No, with something more human. He'd named him Bakery, meaning one who will succeed. And then Bakery had vanished. Elijah blinked, snapping back to the present. That was long ago, he muttered. This lion cub needs help now. He reached for his radio and tried to call base. Static. He adjusted the frequency, climbed onto a small rise. Still nothing but white noise. No proper signal, no help coming. Time to walk. Strapping the lion cub snugly to his chest, Elijah began the trek through the sun-blasted plain, back toward the ranger outpost. Then came the sound no one in Africa forgets. A hiss, not soft but sharp. Menacing. The grass beside him split apart. The python hit like a bolt of lightning. It erupted from the underbrush. At least 20 feet of coiling muscle, its scales glinting in the sun like wet iron. Before Elijah could move, the serpent coiled tightly around his legs, knocking him to the ground. The lion cub squealed, claws pawing at the air, but Elijah pulled it close, shielding it with his body. Another coil lashed around his torso. Elijah grunted, gasping as his ribs were squeezed. Dust rose in swirls around them. The midday heat shimmered off the ground, but all Elijah could feel was the crushing pressure and the lion cub's small heartbeat against his chest. His hand fumbled for his tranquilizer. Too late. The python's tail struck it, sending it flying into the grass. "Hold on," he gasped, his voice barely audible to himself. "You're not going to die here." The snake's head reared back. Its forked tongue flicked. Its yellow eyes locked with his. Then, an earth-shaking roar. From the tall grass came a crash like a tree falling. A shadow blotted out the sun. Elijah turned his head just enough to see what had emerged. A silverback gorilla, broad as a boulder, thick muscles rippling beneath a coat of dark fur. The creature's eyes blazed with fury and familiarity. "Bakery." Time slowed. The python turned, sensing a new enemy. It hissed, tightening again. Elijah groaned, arms trembling. The lion cub let out a weak whimper. And then, Bakery charged. The gorilla slammed into the snake, grabbing its midsection and yanking it back. The python hissed and coiled up Bakery's chest, but the gorilla bellowed in defiance. Even as the serpent clung to him, Bakery's fists pounded the earth, and the python with it. Elijah, still bound, watched helplessly as predator met protector. Dust and grass flew. The lion cub stirred faintly in his grip, eyes barely open. Bakery roared again, louder this time. The battle was far from over. Bakery's roar cracked the silence of the plains. Grabbing the python by its thick midsection, the silverback twisted. The snake writhed, scales scraping across the gorilla's powerful limbs. It tried to coil again, this time around Bakery's neck, but the silverback slammed it to the ground. The earth trembled. Elijah, pinned beneath the tightening grip of the tail coils, felt pressure crushing his ribs. His vision swam, but he kept the lion cub clutched tightly to his chest. Bakery didn't stop. With terrifying strength, the gorilla pried the python's coils off Elijah's legs. The snake hissed and struck at Bakery's face, but the silverback dodged, grabbing the serpent's head with both hands. With a furious cry, Bakery drove the snake into the dust, once, twice, a third time. The python finally loosened its hold. Its body quivered, then began to slither away, broken and beaten. Elijah gasped for air, the weight lifting from his chest. He unwrapped the canvas sling and checked the lion cub, still breathing, shaky but alive. Bakery stood still, chest heaving, his black eyes locked on Elijah's. And then something passed between them. Not fear, not even thanks. Recognition. Elijah saw not just a wild animal, but a memory, alive in muscle and bone. 20 years gone, but not forgotten. Flash. His mind returned to that younger Bakery, snared and bleeding. The same eyes, the same breath, the same look of quiet understanding. "You remembered," Elijah whispered. Bakery grunted, gave a single nod, an unmistakable human gesture, and turned back to the grass. He vanished into it as swiftly as he had come. No sound, no trail, just silence. Elijah lay there, covered in dust and bruises, the lion cub now stirring in his arms. "Thank you," he said, tears stinging his eyes. He stood slowly, gently adjusting the lion cub in his arms. The breeze whispered through the grass once more. Some debts, it seemed, were never forgotten. Later that afternoon, the sun still high and merciless, Elijah sat outside the ranger station, the lion cub now resting safely inside with the veterinary team. They said it would live. It had bruised ribs, minor dehydration, but it would make it. Elijah had washed up, changed into a fresh shirt, and now sat beneath the shade of an acacia tree, sipping tepid water from his canteen. His hands still trembled, not from fear but from something deeper. Wonder. Did anyone else see him? A young vet asked. Elijah shook his head. No, just me. The vet smiled politely and went back inside. But Elijah knew. The grasslands had kept their promise. A debt once paid had returned in kind. The lion cub would be monitored, protected until old enough to fend for itself, then reintroduced into the wild. its home. And Bakery? He was part of that wild now. Part myth, part memory. Elijah looked out across the plains. The wild keeps its own promises, he whispered. And as the lion cub slept inside, the wind carried that promise far across the plains. If this story moved you, if the courage of the lion cub and the loyalty of Bakery stirred something deep, give this video a like and subscribe for more true tales from the heart of the wild. Because here, every story is alive, and some deaths are never forgotten.